"What is it that you want?" asked the small child who was accompanying me as I strolled along the beach. Up until that moment, my path had been one of quiet solitude, alone with my thoughts. But now she asks again, "What is it that you want?" "Well," I replied, "I'd like peace across the world, just like everyone." She shook her head and laughed. "I didn't ask what everyone wanted. I asked what you wanted." For a moment, I was silenced by her determination to get an answer to her question. But then I asked her, "Why do you want to know? What does it matter what I want when the world is in such turmoil? Surely what I want is not important." She smiled and said nothing, looking far into the distance. We continued walking along the sandy shores. A few minutes paused, and still she said nothing. "Are you going to answer me?" I asked. I didn't ask you to come and walk beside me. You just came along, asked me a question, and then ridiculed my answer. What am I supposed to think, or even say for that matter? What do you want?" She smiled again and gave me one of those looks that only someone who knows you really, really well can give you. You know the one that makes you feel really small and stupid. I felt very awkward. I kind of wished she would disappear and let me go back to walking on my own again. But she doggedly stuck with me. I didn't look down at her, desperately trying to avoid all eye contact, beginning to feel really quite awkward now. I almost felt like singing to myself in order to distract my mind and fill this new uncomfortable silence. But I thought it might just make things worse. So I kept my song to myself and just let a humdrum tune rattle through my head. It must have been half an hour, maybe 6 hours that passed. Maybe that was just how I felt. Me walking along, stalked by this small annoyance next to me. How much longer could this go on for, I wondered. And doesn't she have parents somewhere, or a place that she needs to go? I risked a glance down at her. Luckily, she didn't look over. She seemed totally at peace, serene even, in total contrast to the way I was feeling. A part of me wanted to run. Another part just tell her to leave, with no doubt a choice of words totally unsuitable for the ears of a child. But still, I did nothing. I was beginning to become exasperated with myself. Scenarios played through my mind. Could I run away? Would the tide come in powerfully and wash her away on a sudden wave? Would I let her drown? Am I that mean and horrid? She's only a child after all. I was finally starting to get totally fed up with this situation. For God's sake, I am a grown woman. What am I scared of? Will her dad come over and beat me up? Will I be ostracised and never talked to again if I tell her to go away? What to do? What to do? Can I really potentially break a little girl's heart? Right, I said to myself. You've got to make a decision. Night is coming, and she's making no signs of leaving. I can't keep walking with her all night. So I take a deep breath in, resolute now in my decision. Filled with fear and doubt, I open my mouth to speak, just as she turns to me and says, "Do you want me to leave?" I break out into a cold sweat. Did she know? Had I given off signals? It must have been my body language. Quick, put the mask back on, I think. I smile sweetly and say, "Of course not. I'm loving your company." We fall back into an uncomfortable silence, uncomfortable for me. Inside, I'm cursing myself that I didn't have the courage to say yes. The sun is almost set now, and I begin to see the plankton in the water light up as my feet kick through it. She still says nothing to me. Not a word since her last question. Perhaps she was meant to torture me, or maybe I've died and I'm paying for all my sins. My head begins to hang, and I exhale a huge sigh. I wonder how much longer I can walk in this state. My heart aches from the facade I attempt to keep holding up. My legs weary from the weight of the lie that I carry. Finally, my knees buckle underneath me, and I collapse onto the wet sand, with the water washing around my feet and legs. "Who are you?" I cry. "What do you want?" She turns to look at me, and with such love tenderly takes my hands. Looking deep into my eyes, she says, "I am truth. As long as you denied yours, I walked beside you. Not to torment you, but to remind you that your truth should be honoured. When you walk with a lie, you will carry the burden forever, but the truth will always set you free." She asks me once more, "What is it that you want?" And this time I tell her, as she slowly fades into the night.